In today's class, we are going to see about graph representation. So in this, we will see what are the various methods we have in representing the graph in the computer memory. And basically, we can classify the representation into two categories. One is known as sequential representation, where we will use arrays. The array is a 2D array here. And then we have another representation as linked representation, which will be implemented by means of linked list. In sequential representation, we have three different methods. One is known as adjacency matrix, second is incident matrix, and third one is path matrix. Then in linked representation, we have a method called as adjacency list. So we will be focusing on all these four methods in today's class. So first we'll consider the adjacency matrix representation. So in this, we are going to consider that we have a graph with n vertices and there are certain number of edges available. Our aim is we are going to represent this graph in the memory of the computer. So how to do that? For that, in case of the adjacency matrix, we are going to consider a matrix A, and this is represented by using a square matrix of which is implemented as a 2D array. And the dimension of the square matrix is n cross n, where n is nothing but number of vertices. So if you have 5 vertices in your graph, you need to have a matrix of 5 cross 5. So totally you can store information about 25 elements. And in this matrix, we are going to use both rows as well as columns to represent vertices. And every cell Aij in the matrix will be filled with either 1 or 0. And that is going to tell you whether you have connection between two vertices or not. For example, if I have Aij is equal to 1, it means that in ith row, jth column, I am writing 1. So it is going to tell you that there is an edge from the row vertex I to the column vertex j. And if you write Aij is equal to 0, then it will tell you that there is no edge from row vertex I to column vertex j. Now let us see one example. So first I have a graph which is an undirected graph. Now you know what is the difference between directed and undirected graph. If it is undirected graph, all the edges will not have any direction in that. No arrow will be there. That means all the edges are bidirectional. You can use this edge to communicate from A to B as well as from B to A. Information can flow in both the directions. So that's why we say it is undirected graph. And if you have an undirected graph, let us see how to represent the adjacency matrix for this graph. And this adjacency matrix will tell you who are all your neighbors. Whenever there is a neighbor, we will represent 1. If it is not neighbor, we will represent 0. So first, let us consider a graph given here. This graph is totally having 5 vertices. Therefore, you are going to create an adjacency matrix with 5 rows and then 5 columns. And for our easy representation, I have given the index for the rows as the labels of the vertices. But when you do the programming, the index will be from 0 to n minus 1 only, because we are implementing in C by means of arrays. So always arrays will start with index 0. Now for easy understanding, we are considering that we have the index as A up to E. They are nothing but the label of the nodes. Similarly, the index of the column will also be the label of the nodes, that is starting from A up to E. Now, how to fill this matrix? First, let us focus on the node A. Consider node A. It is connected to 3 neighbors. They are B, D, and then C. It is having 3 edges connected to that. So, wherever you have the connection to the neighbor, in that you have to write 1, otherwise you write 0. So now A is connected to B, C, D. So I am starting with the row for A. Then under the column B, under the column C, and under the column D, I am writing 1 because there is an edge connecting A to these nodes. In remaining, I am writing 0. So when you read this line, it will tell you that from the node A, you have connection to node B, node C, and node D. And for node A and E, there are no connection from node A. So that is the meaning of the first row. Now let us focus on the second row. So the second row is related to the node B. So consider the node B. Now it is connected to 3 nodes A, D, and E. So wherever you have A, D, and E, so there you write 1. So I am starting with B because I have to consider the row now. I have to write now 1 in A, D, as well as E because there are 3 connections with respect to B. Now for B and C, there are no connection from B, so you can write 0. Now let us consider the node C. Node C is now connected to two nodes A and D. So start from the row C. Wherever you have A and D, there in that particular column you write 1. In the remaining columns you can write 0. So likewise you have to fill all the remaining rows of your adjacency matrix. And if you consider this adjacency matrix, if the graph is undirected, the matrix is symmetric. So what is the meaning is, you can consider the diagonal. In the diagonal, I have all zeros. What is the meaning is, when you write 1 in the diagonal, that means there is a connection from A to A. There is a connection from B to B. That is self loop is there. Whenever there is a self loop or there is a connection from the node to the same node, you will write 1. If you consider this graph, there is no self loop. So all the diagonal is having the value as 0. And this matrix is now symmetric about the diagonal. You can see here, whatever is your first row, that is represented as the first column. So the first row is represented as the first column. Second row is represented as the second column. So this matrix is a symmetric matrix. So always the adjacency matrix for undirected graph will be symmetric. And now let us see how much memory will be required to store this matrix. I want to store information about this particular graph. There are 5 elements in this graph. When you have 5 vertices, totally you are creating a 2D array with 5 rows and 5 columns. So totally 25 elements will be there inside the array. And if you store these values as integers, every integer is going to occupy some 4 bytes in the memory. So 25 multiplied by 4, 100 bytes will be allocated for this particular representation. So we will say that the memory requirement for our adjacency matrix is order of V squared. Here V stands for number of vertices. So when you have 5 vertices, 5 squared cells you are going to store. When you have 10 vertices, you will store 10 squared. So the memory requirement is now order of V squared. Now let us focus on the adjacency matrix representation of a directed graph. In case of directed graph, all the edges will have direction in that. So we will say that these edges are unidirectional. Unidirectional means if you consider the first edge from A to B, by using this edge, you can send some message or communicate from A to B. You cannot use this edge to communicate with B to A. That is not possible. That is the meaning of the direction. It is similar to the one-way roads you have. Whenever you have one-way roads, you can go in one direction only. You cannot go in the opposite direction. So this is now meaning that there is a connection or path from A to B only, not from B to A. When you have directed graph, when you are writing the matrix, you should be very clear about the direction. So first let us focus on A. In node A, I have to consider only the outgoing edges with respect to this particular node. So node A is having 2 outgoing edges. So they are nothing but B and C. Now you consider the row for A. In that, since we have 2 outgoing edges to B and C, under the column B and C, you write 1. Under remaining columns, you write 0. Always we are representing this with respect to the outgoing edges only, meaning that from that node, which node can be connected, which node can be communicated with. So that is the meaning. Now let us focus on the node B. Node B is having 2 outgoing links. One is to D, another is to E. So under, you consider the row B now, under the column D and E, so you write 1. In remaining columns, you have to write 0. Likewise, you have to fill for all the remaining rows. Let us focus on node E. If you consider node E, it is actually having 2 incoming edges, but there is no outgoing edge. So in the row of E, you have to represent only 0 for all the columns because node E is not having any outgoing edges. So now this is how we are going to represent the adjacency matrix for the directed graph. And if you see, this adjacency matrix for the directed graph will not be symmetric. So that is very important thing. That is the main difference between directed and undirected. And what is the memory requirement for this matrix? Here also, for every node, you have to store the information. So if you have 5 nodes, totally you will have a matrix of 5 cross 5. So the memory requirement is now directly proportional to V squared. So we will say that memory requirement is order of V squared, where V represents number of vertices. When you have more number of vertices, you will have more number of memory. Now let us see adjacency matrix for weighted graph. In the previous two cases, we have seen unweighted graph. What is the meaning of unweighted graph is we have only seen the edges and no label was given to the edges. But now we are going to see weighted graphs. In weighted graphs, first we will focus on weighted undirected graph. So in case of weighted graph, wherever you have an edge, for all the edges, you are going to give some weight. The weight is going to tell you what is the cost of having communication in that particular edge. For example, if I give the weight for A to B link or edges 10, it means that if I want to go from A to B, the cost is 10. Similarly, if I want to go from B to A, the cost is 10. Sometimes when you want to choose shortest path, in that particular case, weight will be coming into picture. If you want to see whether there is a connection or not, this weight will not be used. But if you want to choose the best path, for selecting the best, we need some metric. For that, we'll be using this weight. Now let us see how to represent this one. It is similar to the previous case only, but in the previous case, whenever you have an edge, you have represented 1, but now instead of 1, you have to represent the weight of that particular edge. For example, I'll explain for one row. Let me consider the row for A. Node A is connected to node B, C and D. So in row A, I'll be writing something for node B, C and D. In the columns of B, C and D, I'm going to write something. So what I will be writing there? So whatever is the weight of the edge that you should write. So A is connected to B by an edge with weight 10, to C by 20, then to D 40. So you will write 10, 20, 40 respectively. Similarly, you have to write for all the remaining. And again, since it is an unweighted, undirected graph, the adjacency matrix will be again symmetrical. So you can see here, the first row is now appearing as a first column. So this is now symmetric. And again, the memory requirement is directly proportional to V squared. Now, if you go for the adjacency matrix representation of the weighted directed graph, it is similar to the weighted unweighted directed graph only, but instead of writing 1, we will write the weight. So where you are going to write 1, wherever you have the outgoing edge, in that particular column only, you should write the weight value now. So let us consider node A. Node A is having now 2 outgoing edges. One is to B, another is to C. So in B, you should write the weight as 1, and in C, you should write the weight as 20. So now let us consider the row for A. So in A, under the column B, I am writing 10. Under the column C, I am writing 20. Let us now focus on one more node. Let me consider node D. Node D is totally having 4 links. Out of the 4 links, 2 are the incoming links and 2 are outgoing links. So generally, we are going to write only for the outgoing link. So if you consider D, it is having outgoing link to A as well as E. So take the row of D. For A and E only, we are going to write some value. So the value is nothing but the weight of that particular edge. So A is connected by means of a edge with weight 40 and E with 35. So for A, I am writing 40. Then for E, it is 35. So this is how we are going to write the adjacency matrix for all the 4 cases of graphs. Now let us focus on the next matrix that is called as incident matrix. So what is the meaning of incident matrix? In case of adjacency matrix, we have represented as a square matrix where both rows and columns are number of vertices. Whereas in case of incident matrix, we will be writing with respect to the edges. So you have to first consider a graph with n vertices and m edges. So in this, we are going to write the incidence matrix by using a matrix of size n cross m. Always the first dimension is number of vertices and the second dimension is number of edges you have. And in this matrix, we are going to represent the rows by means of vertices and columns will be represented by means of the edges. And here also we have the directed graph as well as undirected graph. When you consider the directed graph, we are going to fill the cells of the incident matrix with 3 different values. It can be filled with either 1 or -1 or 0. And whenever you write 0, it means that the edge in the column is not connected to the vertex in the row. In the row, you are going to write vertex. In the column, you are going to write edges. If the particular cell is 0, it means the edge in the column is not connected to the vertex in the row. If the cell is 1, it is going to tell you that edge in the column is connected as outgoing edge to the vertex in the row. If the cell is -1, edge in the column is connected as incoming edge to the vertex in the row. This is how we are going to represent for a directed graph. Why we are having three different information now? Three values we have: 0, 1 and -1. 0 is going to tell you that you don't have connection. If you have connection, you have again two cases, whether it is incoming connection or outgoing connection. So you need to differentiate that. For that only, we have 1 and -1. If you consider the directed graph, in this, we are going to tell whether there is a connection or not. We don't want to specify the direction. So no need for three different values here. You will use only two values, 0 or 1. So every cell in the incident matrix of the undirected graph will be filled with either 0 or 1. If you have 0, it will tell you that edge in the column is not connected to the vertex in the row. If it is 1, edge in the column is connected to vertex in the row. Now let us see the example. So consider the graph given here. If you consider this graph, there are totally 5 vertices and I have 7 edges starting from E1 up to E7. So now you have to create the matrix for this. Number of rows in the matrix will be equal to number of vertices. So I have 5 starting from A to E. And number of columns will be equal to number of edges. I have totally 7 edges, E1 up to E7. So this is how we are going to create the incident matrix. Then we will fill the cells now. Let us consider first A. A is having totally 3 edges connected to that. If you consider the edges E1 and E2, they are outgoing edges. For outgoing edges, you have to write +1. So I'm starting with the row for A. In column E1 and E2, I am writing 1 because those two are outgoing edges. Then E3 is the incoming edge, which is connected to A. So under E3, I am writing -1. Then other edges are not at all incident on A. What is the meaning of incident on? Means it is connected to that particular vertex. Other edges are not incident on A. So for E4, E5, E6 and E7, I am writing 0. Now let me consider one more node. Let us consider E. E is having 2 incoming edges. So incoming edge means you will write -1. So the edges are nothing but E6 and E7. So take the row for E, go to the column E6 and E7. In that you write -1. And all the remaining will be 0 because other edges are not connected to node E. So this is how we will represent the incident matrix. So if I give you this graph, you should be able to write the incident matrix. Suppose if I give you only the incident matrix, you should be able to convert that into the graph. So how to do that? Forget that you have this graph with you. I'm giving you only this matrix. I'm asking you find the graph for this matrix. So from the matrix, you will identify that there are 5 nodes. So you will draw 5 nodes and there are 7 edges. Draw them. And before drawing the edges, you have to consider to which node you will connect it. Just let us consider for node C. For node C, E2 and E2 I have -1. That means that with respect to node C, E2 is the incoming edge. So you connect E2 as the incoming edge for node C. So this is how it is connected. Then I will see here for E5 I have 1. Since I have +1, it is the outgoing edge. So E5 will be now connected to C as an outgoing edge and remaining will not be connected. So if NA is given, you should be able to convert that into the other one. Now let us see the memory requirement for this incident matrix. So the memory requirement is nothing but how many cells you are storing in the matrix. So if I have n rows, that is nothing but V rows. V is nothing but how many vertices you have, and number of columns is number of edges. So if you have V rows and E edges, totally you will have V cross E number of cells. So the memory requirement is nothing but order of V cross E. It depends upon how many vertices and how many edges you have. And when you have many number of edges, many connections, if you have many connections among all the nodes, you will have large matrix in case of this incident matrix. Now let us consider how to represent the incident matrix for undirected graph. In case of undirected graph, again, you have to focus on the graph given to you with respect to vertices and then edges only. So take all the vertices as the rows and all the edges as the columns. Consider the node A. Node A is now having 3 edges incident on it. Now no need to consider any direction. Just if an edge is connected, you write 1. If the edge is not connected, you write 0. So E1, E2, E3 are the edges connected to A. So under E1, E2, E3, I am writing 1. For all the edges, I am writing 0. If you consider node B, Node B is connected with edges E1, E4 and E6. So node B, so I am considering row B, it is connected to E1, E4 and E6. So there you can write 1. In all the remaining columns you write 0. And here again the memory requirement is proportional to V cross E. So we will say that it is order of V multiplied by E. Now we have seen two different types of representation. Let us focus on the last one in the sequential matrix, the sequential representation, that is path matrix representation. This path matrix will tell you whether you have path between two different vertices. Whereas in case of adjacency matrix, if they are neighbors, you will write 1. In case of the incident matrix, if an edge is connected to a vertex, you are writing some value. In case of path matrix, it will tell you whether you have a path from one node to another node. And for this, consider a graph with n vertices. Let me focus for director graph. And the path matrix of this graph will be represented using a square matrix, because this will tell you whether you have a path from one vertex to another vertex. So both rows and columns are nothing but vertices only. And the size of this matrix will be equal to n cross n, where n is nothing but number of vertices. And in this matrix, both rows and columns represent vertices. Every cell Pij in the matrix will be filled with either 1 or 0. If you fill a particular cell Pij with 1, it means that there is a path from the row vertex I to the column vertex j, and sometimes this path will be direct path by one link, or otherwise it can be an indirect path which will be having many links in that. For example, I can reach from one node to another node directly. In that case, I will write 1 and there is a path. And sometimes I may reach from one node to another node, not directly, through some other intermediate node. In that case also, I have a path from I to j. So in both the cases, I will be writing 1 only. And if you write Pij is equal to 0, it means that there is no path from row vertex I to the column vertex j. And we will see in an algorithm known as Washer algorithm to find out how to construct this particular path. Let us simply consider what will be the output for this particular graph. So now let me check the path matrix. So here the size of the matrix will be equal to n cross n, where n is number of vertices. So I have 5 vertices in this. So 5 rows and then 5 columns you have to represent. Now let us consider node A. Now you have to check whether there is a path from A to A. If so, in the first cell, you will write 1. You have a path from A to A. If you focus this particular diagram, from A, there is no self loop to A. But from A, you can go to the node B. Then from B, you can go to D. Then from D, you can come to A again. So you are starting with A. Through some other node, you are coming back to A again. Anyway, there is a path. But this path is not a direct path. It is an indirect path. So now from A to A, you have a path. So you write 1 under this particular cell. Okay, so the row is from node and the column is to node. So if I have path from A to all the remaining vertices, I'll be using the first row. Now let us consider whether you have a path from A to B. You consider A, from A you have a direct connection to B. So here also we will write 1 because we have a path from A to B. But this is a straight path now. The previous case is not a direct path, it is an indirect path, but now we have a direct path. Now let us consider from A to C. From A, you have a direct connection to C. So under the row A, under the column C, you write 1 because there is a connection existing. Then, is it possible to go from A to D? See here, from A, I can go to B, then from B, I can go to D. So there is a path from A to D. So there also you can write 1. Next, is it possible to go from A to E? So from A, I can go to B, then from B, I can go to E. And also there is another path possible. From A, you will go to B, from B, you will go to D, then from D, you will go to E. There are so many paths available. And which one will be selected? That we will see in the Gaussian algorithm. But this path matrix is going to tell you whether you have a path from one node to another node or not. So from A, we have path to all the nodes in the graph. So we have 1 in the first row for all the columns. Now let us focus on the node E. I am having the node E here. From E, I cannot go to any other node because there is no outgoing edge with respect to E. If there is an outgoing edge, then only from that node you can go to other nodes. Since there is no outgoing edge here, you cannot reach any node from E. So you take the row of E. Since you cannot reach any other node, you will write 0. So this is how we are going to construct the path matrix. So far we have seen three different ways of representation. All the three ways are going to use arrays for implementation. So those are called a sequential representation. Now we are going to see how to represent the matrix by means of a linked list. So for that we have an adjacency list. Let us focus on the adjacency list for the directed graph. So in case of adjacency list, I am going to represent the information about the neighbors by means of linked list. You know, adjacency means information about the neighbor. So you have to check how many direct connections you have with respect to a particular node. So let us consider the graph. So we have a directed graph here. Now, how to create the adjacency list? We have two different methods for this. In the first method, you will create for every node one linked list. That is a singly linked list. So here I have totally 5 vertices. So I will create totally 5 singly linked lists. Okay, you can see here, first is with respect to node A, and the second one is with respect to node B, third is with respect to C, then D, and then E. Then we will represent information about the neighbors. That is, we will see from A, whichever is the adjacent neighbor that can be reached with A. Like if you have the node A, from node A, you have 2 outgoing links. That means from A, you can reach B as well as C. So they are your neighbors, they are your adjacent nodes. So you represent now from A, connection to B, and then connection to C. Since we have 2 nodes only, after you write the last node, you will write null there because it is implemented as a linked list. You know that in case of a single linked list, every node will have 2 fields. The first one is the data field, another one is the pointer field. In the data field, you are going to write the ID of the vertex. In the pointer field, you will write the address of the next node. So first, we will write the node A. In the node A, in the link field, we will write the address of the next node. That is, next node is nothing but one of the neighbors. It need not be B always. You can even write C first, then B second. It is up to you. But generally, we will follow some ascending order. If you write through programming, we will write loop where we will have the index from 0 to n minus 1. So we will have increasing order in case of the for loop. So when you implement, you will go according to the language's rules. But here I have node A, which is having 2 neighbors B and C. So simply I am writing them in the linked list. And in the node, in the second node, in the data field, I'm going to store B. In the link field, I'll store the address of the next node. And in C, in the link field, I'm going to store null because A is having only 2 neighbors. So if I am asking you find out the neighbors of A, you will start from this A. You will just travel through the linked list till you reach null. Whichever node you come across, that are the neighbors of A. So I'm starting from A. First, I'm going to B. I'm printing this value. Then I'm going to C with the help of this address. I'm printing the value. After that, since I have null here, I'll say that A is having only 2 neighbors. Then, likewise, you will represent for all the remaining nodes. Let us focus on the node E. In case of node E, we don't have any outgoing edge. That means A from E, you cannot connect to any other node. So we will represent here itself null. Okay, so even though we have created a node to represent E, since it is not having any neighbor, we will represent null here. This is one way of representation. In the other way, what you can do is, for every node, the first one is nothing but number of nodes. For every node, you can create an entry in the array. You can create an array of pointers in the second method. So first I am creating an array of pointers. What is the size of the array? That is nothing but how many nodes you have in the graph. I have totally 5 nodes in the graph. So the size of the array is 5, starting from 0 up to the index 4. And 0 is representing node A, 1 is representing node B, and so on. Then what I will store in this array? In this array, you are going to store pointer. Pointer in the sense address. So what address I am going to store? For every node, I am going to create only the neighbors as a linked list. Here, A is having 2 neighbors, B and C. Okay, that is 2 outgoing links are there in A. So I will create a linked list, singly linked list with 2 nodes. One is having a value B and the other is C. Okay, in case of the link field of B, I am storing the address of C. In case of the link field of C, I am storing null because this is the last neighbor of A. And whatever is the address of the node B, that you have to store in this pointer value. Okay, for that only we are creating array of pointers. Okay, so this method is also a very good method to store information about the graph. And likewise, you have to create one entry for every node in your graph. And for node E, since we don't have any outgoing edge, in the array itself, we are storing null. Okay, so this is how you can represent the graph by means of adjacency list. Let us consider how much memory will be required to store this particular graph. We have seen in case of matrix representation. Now let us focus for the linked list representation. You consider the first one. Here, this one, the first box represents how many vertices you have. So if you have 5 vertices, you will have 5 entries. If you have 10 vertices, you will have 10 entries. So the first one, memory requirement, depends upon how many vertices you have. And the next one is, you can next see here, I have some boxes in the linked list. These are nothing but edges. If you can count this particular diagram, totally I have 7 edges. And count the boxes here, the element nodes of the linked list, totally you have 7 nodes. So the first one, this one is representing number of nodes or number of vertices, and this one depends upon how many edges you have. So we can say that the memory requirement to store this particular adjacency list is order of V plus E, where V is the number of vertices and E is the number of edges. And remember, here for representing everything, we are creating a single linked list. And you all know that in the single linked list, we will have 2 fields. One field to store the actual data, another field to store the address of the next node. Whereas in case of array representation, we never store any address. We are simply storing the value of the data. In case of linked list based representation, we are also storing the address in addition to the data. Okay, whereas the memory requirement for this one is order of V plus E. In the second also the same thing. For you are creating first an array. The size of the array is nothing but it depends upon the number of vertices, so order of V. And then this linked list size is nothing but it depends upon how many edges you have. So it is order of E. So we will say order of V plus E. This is for the directed graph. Let us see what will happen when we go for adjacency list in case of an undirected graph. So here, in case of an undirected graph, for if you have an edge from A to B, when you draw with respect to node A, first let us see how to create it. First create one table. Here you will have one entry for all the nodes. I have totally 5 nodes, so I am creating 5 entries here. Then I will consider node A. Who are all the neighbors of node A? For that, I'll create a node. I will connect that to the existing list. So for node A, I have 3 neighbors, B, C, and D. So with respect to A, you create 3 nodes now, B, C, and D. Store the address of this B in the link field of A. Store the address of C in the link field of B, and store the address of D in the link field of C. In the link field of D, you store null because that is a last neighbor. Okay. Now let us consider the node B. In node B, we have again 3 links. We never see the direction here because it is undirected. It is adjacency list undirected graph. In the title, there is a mistake. So now let us consider the node B. In node B, we have 3 edges totally. They are connected to A, D, and E. So now start from the node B. You will be connecting to A, D, and then E. If you consider in this, I have only one connection from A to B, but how many times that information is represented? It is represented twice. One is with respect to A, this particular entry, A to B, this connection is represented. And then with respect to B also, we have represented that. So in case of the undirected graph, if an edge is appearing one time, we will represent in two places. One is with respect to the first node, another is with respect to the second node. So every edge information will be represented twice. And remaining are same. You can construct this graph. Now, if you consider the node E, in the previous diagram, we don't have any entry with respect to node E because we have considered the direction. But here we are not going to focus on the direction. So node E is having 2 neighbors, B and D. So E will be now connected to B and D. And in the other way also, you can represent the same thing. Create an array of pointers. The number of entries in the array will be depending upon how many vertices you have. So I have 5 vertices. So I have 5 entries here. In all the entry, I'm going to store only the address of the linked list. Memory requirement for this particular adjacency list for the undirected graph will be like this. First, you are creating an array. Okay, and here this is for every node in your graph. So it is order of V. Then if you have one edge, the information about the edge will be represented in two places. So don't write V plus E, it will be now V plus 2E. This is the difference between directed graph and undirected graph in case of adjacency list. In directed graph, every edge will be represented in one place only. Whereas in undirected graph, it will be represented in two places. So we have now memory requirement as order of V plus 2E. So with this, we have finished all the methods of representing the graph in your memory. Now let us see when you will prefer which approach. So we have seen totally 4 different methods, but we have many ways to represent the graph, but these are the famous methods. Out of these 4 methods, the most widely used methods are the adjacency matrix and the adjacency list. The remaining will be used only for specific application. So which type of representation you are going to choose depends upon your application. Okay, and most widely used are adjacency matrix and then adjacency list. Now let us consider the memory requirement. Let me summarize again. We have seen this before. In case of adjacency matrix, whether you have a directed graph or undirected graph, the size or memory requirement will be directly proportional to square of the number of vertices. So it is order of V squared. Whereas in case of a directed matrix, if you consider the adjacency list representation, if the matrix is directed, then the memory is directly proportional to order of V plus E. Whereas if your matrix is, if your graph is undirected graph, the adjacency list will consume the memory as order of V plus 2E. Now, when to select when? Which one? If you consider this, if you have sparse matrix is nothing but your matrix is having less number of edges. When the number of edges are less, always it is advisable to go for adjacency list. And when you have a dense matrix means your number of edges are more. If your graph is complete, for example, we have seen that if you have n nodes in a graph, if your graph is directed, you will have totally n into n minus 1 edges. If the graph is undirected, you will have n into n minus 1 by 2 edges. So if almost all the edges are there present in the graph, then it is called as dense graph. In that case, you will go for adjacency matrix representation. What is the reason for this? In case of a sparse graph, can I use the adjacency matrix? Let us consider the case of a Facebook. In case of Facebook, millions of users are there. For every user, a vertex will be created. For example, let us assume that there are 1 million users in the Facebook, but that is not the case, it is more than that. Let me assume there are 1 million users in the Facebook. I want to represent my friends. I have only 10 friends in Facebook, assume like that. So out of 1 million users existing in the Facebook, I have connection with only 10 nodes. So for my node, every node will be represented as a row. For my row, 1 million entries will be there, but in that only 10 entries are having 1. All the remaining entries will be having 0. So it is now similar to the sparse matrix you have studied. We have studied that in case of a sparse matrix, more number of zeros will be there. So why to waste your memory? You are, for every row you are wasting 1 million entries. In that only 10 you are utilizing. So remaining are not conveying any useful information because you don't have any connection. So if you go for sparse matrix, don't go for adjacency matrix because you will be wasting most of the memory. In that case, go for adjacency list. If your matrix is dense, you go for adjacency matrix. Why we are not choosing adjacency list for dense matrices? In case of adjacency list, we are storing 2 fields in every node. One is the data, another is a pointer. So if your matrix is, if your graph is dense, it is having almost all the edges. So if you store by using adjacency list, for every node, you have to store additional pointer also. That is going to waste memory. So in case of dense matrix or dense graph, sorry guys, there is a mistake here. It is not sparse matrix and dense matrix. It is sparse graph and the dense graph. If the graph is dense, you will represent by means of adjacency matrix. So it is up to you which one you are going to decide. Always see with respect to the memory and choose accordingly. Now with this, today's class is over.